guys, Mike here. So yeah, you probably tell by the video's title, we're just going to be taking a quick look to why the Wii U failed in the UK. I'd probably said quick look, and it's not probably going to be a short video. I'm going to go into as much detail as I can. Just to give you the heads up, some of this is just going to be opinion based things based on what I've experienced with the Wii U in the UK itself, and from the research that I have done. So before we go any forward, let's just take a brief stop and look at Nintendo. Beloved company, worldwide, well, just known and loved, and never could do anything wrong, could they? Yeah, if you live in America and Japan, pretty much can't do much wrong. Sure, there's some little side steps there, such as the Virtual Boy. In the UK, it's a different story altogether. Obviously, the NES wasn't really marketed in the UK too well. I apologise, I don't really know too much about the market in the UK because I wasn't really around for it, or at least comprehensive enough to understand what was going on back then. My first console was in the 16-bit era, and it was actually the Sega Multi-Mega, which was like the fusion of the Mega Drive or Genesis and the Sega CD. But yeah, so to take a look back at why the Wii U failed in the UK, we're just going to have to briefly talk about the pre-Wii U, so what happened before then. So the start of the story is going to start with the actual Wii itself, so the generation beforehand. Now, Nintendo kind of struck gold with the Wii. It was an innovative idea. It got non-core gamers gaming, and it was one of the most sold consoles. I believe it was clocking in about 101 million units sold worldwide. Now, the problem that you had with the Wii U, probably its selling point as well, was it was a gimmick, and obviously it was the motion controls, which is great for a while, but if you ask a lot of people who use the Wii for more than a few days, and they stuck with the pack-in title, you know, the Wii Sports game. Now, the Wii's eventually moved to lofts, wardrobes, sheds, garages and Grandma's homes, but to be fair, Grandma probably already had one, because she was hip and cool and she loved a bit old balling. But the gimmick was really obviously popular for the time, and as I mentioned, it was innovative. Tripping over words. Yeah, the competitors tried to copy it as well. So the Xbox shot out the Kinect, and I say shot out for a reason. Anyone who liked the Kinect is probably lying to you. And then it was imitated by the PlayStation with the PlayStation Move. I know that's more so taken a resurgence in popularity due to the VR, because it's been used with the PlayStation VR and the PS4. But it was a gimmick as well, and it was just trying to succeed, well, take the success from the Wii, you know, copy that idea and go forward. And as mentioned though, Nintendo home consoles and the UK market tended not to go hand in hand together. The biggest sellers over here have been the handhelds, as mentioned, obviously the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color. A lot of the time people were buying them, especially in the late 90s going forward up until modern day, bought them just to be Pokemon machines. As mentioned, the original NES didn't take off here. That's because we had the microcomputers, and then, like mentioned, we had the godlike company of Sega coming in with the Master System and Sega Mega Drive later on in the late 80s and early 90s. But that's going to be a story for another day, if I decide to make one. If you want me to discuss that, obviously just let me know. Now, there was a lot of misconception on the pre-launch for the Wii U as well, from how it was advertised over here, so I can't comment too much for other countries because again, I'm only from the UK, but the media sort of gave the impression that the Wii U was just an add-on for the Wii. It never really broke down to say it was a separate console, and with a lot of the obviously the massive sales, I've said, it wasn't really the core gamers that were buying the Wii in the first place, and when they saw the Wii U advertised, they legitimately thought it was just an add-on and not a separate console. And at that point, the Wii was already gathering dust in most places, so that's why it didn't really take off. So we're just going to do a little skip forward here now. So we're going to talk about the actual launch of the Wii U for the UK. So the Wii U in the UK launched in November 30th, 2012, and the beast arrived, and from when it was announced way back in April 25th, 2011, I believe. It came in two flavours: vanilla, the white edition, which is also known as the basic, and the chocolate, which is the black edition, also known as the premium. Although it wasn't supposed to be sweet, so I guess we should really call them shit and sugar versions, representatively. The white edition was the standard model, and that came with an impressive 8GB internal memory, while the black edition came with the 32GB. Now the memory on them was just flash memory. Now, if you can't tell, I am being sarcastic there on being impressed by them sounds of the hard drive space. This is a time when we are having PS3s and Xbox 360s with 120GB of game data, and we're well aware at this point that games are going to be like huge on file size, like dual layer DVD size to like, is it 20GB, 20 to 30GB on a PlayStation game? PlayStation 3 game, sorry, I'm not too sure on the sizes. Now, if you got one of the Wii U's at launch, you could literally feel Nintendo reach in and take the money from your wallet and shaking the coins out your piggy bank, probably the piggy bank that your auntie gave you one shit Christmas ago. Now the price for this was roughly £200 for the basic edition, so the white version, and between £250 and £280 for the premium or the black version. So yeah, you definitely could feel Nintendo reaching and just stealing your money. Now, as far as launch games goes, get ready to be blown away by these titles. So we had Assassin's Creed 3, Batman Arkham City Armoured Edition, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, I believe, Darksiders 2, Epic Mickey The Power of 2, Sports Connection, FIFA 13, Funky Barn, Game Party Champions, Just Dance 4, New Super Mario Bros. U, Nintendo Land, Scribblenauts Unlimited, Skylanders Giants, Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, Tekken Tag Tournament 2 Wii U Edition, and Zombie U. Now, let's be honest, it's not a bad lineup. Sure, most of the games are available on other consoles, and it does show third parties were interested in Nintendo. Maybe they hoped that the lightning would strike twice. Of the launch games itself, the only one I really wanted was Zombie U, and to be honest, it's the only one I really remember being heavily advertised. There was a massive advertising campaign for this as well. I'll try and get a screenshot in somewhere around here, but Finn from Star Wars, he was used in the advertising campaign for Zombie U, so hopefully there's a little screenshot here, and I'll put a link in the description where you can see the trailer that he was used in. But yeah, they really hoped the lightning strike price. I mean, with the massive sales of the Wii, obviously people were going to think the Wii U was going to be just as popular. When the Wii came out, it was hard to find on the stores whether this was falsely created by Nintendo underproducing the consoles or not. But I remember there was speculation for the actual core gamers thinking that the Wii U was going to be hard to reach. So when it came to me getting my one over the Christmas holiday of 2012, I was surprised that I was able to just walk into a shop and just buy one off the shelf. And then I was even more surprised by the shop I got it from. The guy who sold me said I was the first one to buy one from them. So yeah, that kind of shows the advertising at least wasn't working. I remember, obviously, Zombie U, I'll just briefly talk about that. It was the most advertised game I remember seeing, and it was obviously one of the exclusives back then. Obviously how time has changed that from now, but we won't go into that. I'm a little bit bitter about that. Now at the launch as well, the Wii U was backwards compatible. The full Wii library is playable on this beast, which is a good way to come out, a nice backlog of games to play. It meant when it came out, it had pretty much access to a huge library of games, probably outranking the 360 and the PS3. I can't tell you if I thought about it, I can't say how many games there was overall. But at the time of being released, I was excited to be thinking, oh, it's got backwards compatibility, I can't wait to play GameCube games straight through an HDMI device, like through the HDMI connection, and I was looking forward to using the Wii U to play some DVDs. Yeah, there's no backwards compatibility on a stock Wii U for GameCube titles, and there's none for DVD playback. Yes, the Wii U got apps for things like Netflix, so you can obviously stream movies and TV content, and there was the TV. Now the TV was never actually released in the UK, nor can anyone really describe what it was going to be over here. All I remember is it was advertised as coming soon, and soon just never happened. I remember finding announcements articles saying that it's been scrapped entirely, and I was like, well, there's a part of the Wii U that's never going to happen. I'll try to avoid talking about it later, because that's something I was going to talk about later on. Now, just going through, trying to get you some figures here as well. It's estimated that in the UK alone, between its launch of 2017, between its launch and up to 2017, there was roughly 695,797 Wii U consoles sold. Now that may sound like a lot, but just put in perspective, for the PS4 for example, which obviously was released long after the Wii U, that sales figures are already in the millions. So yeah, this was not doing good for Nintendo. And now, obviously we're just moving past the launch now, we're just talking about the aftermath here a bit. So 2013 hit a rock for Nintendo. So although the sales had improved by later on in the year, because obviously at the launch it wasn't doing too good, but later on in the year the sales did start to improve. But it didn't improve too much. But it had an impact on the third-party support. So initially, companies like EA announced the plans to release no new titles in 2013 for the Wii U. They did later turn around and say that they were going to release just as many during 2012 as they did for 2013, which is quite ironic considering if you think about the Wii U's launch time as it was. And then that had a knock-on effect. Other third-party companies also pulled out. Now they were citing it was hardware restrictions for the main reason why they weren't obviously going to be releasing games, which I can understand. The Wii U isn't exactly the most technologically advanced piece of kit. In fact, the way I actually described the Wii U to my friends back in the time of its re-released was it was like a home console version of the DS. Obviously you had the two screens, almost the same amount of buttons. Obviously the DS had less buttons. Now, so you can see where they're coming from, saying the hardware wise, but if you think about how businesses run, it is just business. And if you look at the figures sold for the Wii U, you're not going to produce content on something you know is only going to have like a cap as to how many sales you're going to make at the end of the day. Another reason for it feeling a little bit like by this point, as we've already mentioned, 360, so the Xbox 360 and PS3 were already the top dogs for gaming. Obviously not including the Master Race, but you've got things like Steam on the Master Race, obviously that's PC. Now, you have trophies and achievements on these platforms, so on Steam, Xbox 360, PS3. There was none of that for the Wii U, which is quite concerning a joke, because during that time period, that was sort of like the bragging time period of games consoles. Like, people always would say, oh, my gamer score is X, my trophy score is X, how many platinums do you have? I don't think anyone bought a Wii U for it to be their main console, so there was no bragging. And if you had a Wii U, you probably didn't know anyone else who had a Wii U. At least no one else in your local area. Now, once the third-party support of games came to a standstill, there was only a small trickle of games being released in physical format, and that was from Nintendo as a first party. And they weren't exactly system sellers. Like, there was no one's just going to go the way to buy the console just for these. I mean, I'm hitting myself in the head there since I bought the console just for Zombie U. Again, not bitter. But yeah, for examples of these, you've got things like Star Fox, Pokken, Smash Bros. And then you had the unlikely attempt at a saviour of Bayonetta 2, which obviously Nintendo got exclusivity for obviously trying to save the day at the end. That basically they saved Bayonetta 2 from not being released at all, really. But most of the games have become meaningless because they have now been ported onto other consoles or the Switch. Obviously not the Nintendo exclusive ones, but like most of them have moved over to the Switch itself. So like Pokken, and we're going to get the Smash Bros coming out soon. I suspect Star Fox is probably going to come out soon if it isn't already out. I apologise if it is because I'm not too sure. This is only a guess, but it makes sense. It's a lazy way for Nintendo to make money. Take the games you've already made, re-release on the console that's now doing well. Bam, money. As mentioned, no one was going to go out the way to buy a console just for these games, but there are more sales on the Switch than there is the Wii U. Then another thing which probably left to a lot of a bitter taste in people's mouths for the Nintendo Wii U was the accessories. Now I'm going to say a couple of these as the big issues there. So we have the gamepad first of all. So let's just talk about the gamepad. Now obviously it's quite big and clunky to hold. When you actually get into a game, it doesn't feel that bad. You can just lose yourself if you're not using the second screen on the gamepad. You can lose yourself and just imagine you're using an ordinary gamepad itself. On the games that force you to use the gamepad, it does feel cheap and gimmicky. And again, I know it's not really an accessory because it only came with the console. I believe in Japan you could buy it separately, but elsewhere around the world, yeah, it came with the console itself. That was it. End of. But the other accessories I'm going to talk about, so the first one is the GameCube controller adapter, which is brilliant. I love the GameCube controller adapter. It's far as I'm aware, it's only playable on Smash Bros. On legitimate Nintendo Wii U's. Like, what the hell? The GameCube pad is regarded as one of the best pads for Smash Bros. in the first place, but it's a great pad for playing games on, full stop. To restrict it like that after making you buy an external accessory just to reuse them pads, it's a joke. Obviously, the hacked Wii U's can use it for other things. They can use it on other games, they can use it on the emulators. That's what I use it for, and that's what I highly recommend other people to use it for. Obviously, third-party companies started producing them as well, because it was also produced in a limited quality. Now, whether Nintendo did that because they knew the sales of the Wii U were low anyway, so they only released a certain amount of them, who knows? But it created, like, they were going for crazy prices on eBay. I remember seeing them for like 50 quid upwards. I can't remember the price I paid for mine, but mine is an official, legitimate one. Now, the worst accessory crime Nintendo created in the Wii U days is still around today, and that's the amiibos. Now, there was the Pokemon Rumble figures, which were also NFC chip figures, which I sort of class as the test waters for the amiibos. Pokemon Rumble didn't sell too well as a standalone product over here, as far as I'm aware. I've only got 2 of the little figures, and that's only because I bought like the box set which came with the DLC code and 2 figures to pick in the first place. I have Pikachu and one of the legendaries, I can't remember which one. I've only really used them a couple of times when I played the game. A lot of the time I just used the Pokemon that are already in the game. But the amiibos, again, it was Nintendo controlling the market, more so in places like America. But it makes sense if you think about it. They're only going to release so many of them due to the sales of the Wii U, so they weren't really probably expecting people who don't have these games to be buying them. But, you know, they sold really well. But the pricing, it was insane, so they were hard to get a hold of. They were then scalped up. And then you don't even really need them as well. Smash Bros. You can complete the game and unlock the characters without them. You don't really get too much of a benefit. It was just a waste of money. Nintendo knew that as well, and it was a controlled medium. Now, another thing about this as well, I've thrown the term controlled medium there. Now this is what I'm going to throw up in the second-hand market for the Wii U as well. So Nintendo first-party titles tend to hold value. And it's not saying that the games are good. I'll be honest though, a lot of Nintendo own-made games are good. But where it's the controlled medium, they don't really have anywhere to judge where the second-hand price would be by. So they just tend to keep on the higher prices. You find the third-party titles just go for ridiculous prices. Like, I'm sure now you can buy Zombie U for about £2 in second-hand shops, second-hand game shops. Whereas like something like, I'm trying to think of it, Super Mario Bros. U, probably going to be paying like 20-30 quid still for it. I mean, I could be wrong there, I'm just giving examples. But it's insane, because the third party titles tend to drop sometimes faster than the draws of a lady working in the shady part of town. As mentioned, the first party ones didn't. It's just insane. Now, competition was another major factor for it failing as well. The competition was too powerful. As mentioned, obviously there was the achievements and trophies, but this era of gaming that Nintendo tried to compete with was the online era. In the UK, Xbox Live was the go-to if you wanted to get sworn at by children playing games marked 15 to 18 plus. But these were the target audience, and that was of that generation itself. The big end couldn't keep up with this, or attract them over. I'm sure to this day they don't understand what consumers want within the online functionality. Obviously, after the recent press release of the Switch Online services, it looks like nothing's changed. They still just haven't got a clue what people want in the online. Now, moving on a little bit, I'm just going to go to the year of Luigi. So Nintendo heavily promoted the year of Luigi, and this could have been a huge thing for Nintendo. They heavily promoted it almost everywhere that they could as well. I remember seeing it on like posters, on buses, on trains, you name it. It was everywhere. During this time, the Wii U saw 2 releases as for the triumphant year, and that was New Super Luigi U, which essentially was just DLC for New Super Mario Bros. U. It did see a physical release as well, but it was more so a digital release. And then there was a digital release of Dr. Luigi, which was just Dr. Mario with a Luigi theme. Go figure, eh? A sequel to Luigi's Mansion did come out on the 3DS, and Mario and Luigi Dream Team, well, that's it. So this big year of Luigi, what a letdown. Could have been so much more. The fact that we only really got one Luigi release for the Wii U, which was proper Luigi, was just Dr. Luigi, because R-Class, like I said, I've mentioned Super Luigi U, is just DLC really. It's not really a standalone game. The year of Luigi was just as much of a failure as the Wii U itself. So just to summarise, the reasons why I believe the Wii U failed in the UK. So first off, we had the high launch price. And it was mostly for titles that you could get, like the games released were mostly titles you could get on other consoles that you already owned. So if you were going to buy the Wii U, it was for the exclusives, and there wasn't that many. The media portrayal of not making it clear that the Wii U wasn't an add-on for the Wii. I know that that's a core gamer is going to be like, what the fuck? We knew it was something different. But think about the people who bought the Wii. It was grandmas as well. Grandmas, people who weren't... Grandmas, grandpas, people who weren't used to gaming. They didn't know. And it was outdated hardware on its launch, which made it difficult for developers. Which again, as we mentioned, that's why a lot of developers stepped aside, or at least one of the reasons they claimed. And going briefly on that, the third parties washing their hands off of Nintendo, not wanting to do them in this area. Another reason. The accessories. For example, the GameCube adapter only working with one game. The amiibo and the artificial inflation of said devices. The trickle feed of games releases once the third parties had left. Not understanding the gaming market has grown. They could have done so much if they put more time and research into the online side. I mean, I'm not an online gamer, I hate online games. Not exactly hate them, I just like to play solo. But if they'd cornered that market, it could have been huge. And I feel like the Wii U ripped us off. Nintendo ripped us off. My Wii U is hacked, it does what I need it to. But even I still felt ripped off by Nintendo, and I think that with the way they've been porting games over the Switch from Nintendo, it's just a real big stab in the back of anyone that adopted the Wii U during its life cycle. And in my other video, I have showed you that my Wii U is hacked, so that means I can do more than what it was intended on, so I can play GameCube games, I can play emulators. So for me, it's easy just to play a GameCube game straight from there, because it'll just run it straight for the HDMI cable. Bob's your uncle, I can capture the footage if I need to. So yeah, that's the summary of why I felt like it failed. If it had been released sooner, if it had competed with the 360 and PS3 sooner, it might have stood a fairer chance. Because back when the 360 and the PS3 were early released, the games weren't exactly the highest of quality then. People didn't know how to make the games for what they were like towards the end of the life cycle. And that period, I think that's when Nintendo could have shined. But, you know, they didn't. And that's overall why, like I said, why I think the Wii U failed. I mean, feel free to comment. Let me know if you think there's other reasons I've missed. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be millions of other reasons. These were just, like I said, my personal opinions why I felt like it failed. And I did try to research some of them as well to get some more facts to back up some of the information I've got as well. But yeah, thanks for watching anyway. Hope you all have a lovely day. See you later.